What's up, all? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden, and this is my last episode that is actually going to be based on politics for the day. I'm going to do a personal one for all the people in Political Fight Club personally tonight. That'll be a lot of fun. Tune in for that. Be posted probably around midnight or so. But I wanted to talk about Joe Biden breaking yet another campaign promise and how it seems to me that really Joe Biden hasn't done anything that is a whole lot better than what Trump would have gotten done, other than like a little bit on COVID. But it seems to me that all he's really doing is like urging the governors to do a mask mandate and like getting the vaccines pushed. But like Trump would have gotten the vaccines done too. The only difference is that Biden seems to be like on board with the rhetoric that COVID is real, it is dangerous, and we should work together to get it done, whereas Trump was more divisive about it. I'll give you that. But I mean, the vaccines were going to get out there anyways, and it's, Biden's doing the bare minimum with COVID, as I've talked about before on the show. So I mean, Biden is more or less the same as Trump, and he's proving that more and more by the day. So the thing is, now I want to point your guys' attention to some of the videos and pictures that are coming out at the border. And the Biden administration had been like not allowing journalists to take any pictures of what's happening to the migrants at the border, because as we all know, before the election, all of the centrist Democrats and neoliberals included were talking about how horrendous a job Trump was doing, and they were all against the kids in cages thing, and they actually were pretending to care about it back then. And that's what we're finding out now is like Biden really hasn't done anything at the border. They moved a lot of these migrants into what are basically retrofitted dumpsters, the pictures are showing, and like tents. And some of these tents, they're saying, are built for something like 30 people, and they're putting hundreds of kids in a tent built for 30 people at once, all during a pandemic. And I mean, we can talk semantically about what constitutes a cage or not, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, let's be honest, we're splitting hairs. Like, do you really prefer like a dumpster to a cage? Because that's what you're getting with Biden over Trump. It's like a Simpsons episode, man. It's satire. It's like, as soon as the Biden administration went in there, they're like, sir, we probably need to solve that problem with the migrants at the border. The whole kids in cages thing was incremental to you winning the presidency. Do you think we should, maybe do a path to citizenship and really, put some money into our border control and fixing this type of thing with some sort of progressive citizenship policy? And Biden's just like, oh no, that sounds like super duper in depth. Let's just change what we mean by cages, and we'll like put them in, we'll call them happiness facilities, or we'll call them empathy facilities. And they just move them down the street to these like old cabins or tents or whatever. It's just bananas that they actually got away with this. And this brings me to my last point about the Democrats. They haven't actually solved anything in the border. If anything, they're making things. They built the cages that Trump used, if you remember correctly, and there are 4 times as many immigrants in custody down there now than there were under Trump. So they're making things worse, and they're not putting the right amount of funding into it. So arguably, you could say that they're doing just as bad a job as Trump was down there. So kids in cages, kids in dumpsters, call it what you want, man. It looks more or less like the Biden administration is fumbling this just as bad as Trump. So this brings me full circle, or to my final point, which is basically like, is there anything that Joe Biden campaigned on that he's actually following through with? Am I missing something? Because like I've only seen one thing that he's said that has actually been like true once you dig past like the first headline of what he's actually said he's going to do. Like, he said he was going to get out of Yemen. Nope. Turned out to be not true. He said he was going to forgive all student loan debt. Nope. Forgave less than 0.5% of all student loan debt. Like, The only thing I've seen is like the trans people in the army thing, which is like, again, it's like the smallest victory ever. I mean, what? And this thing at the border just proves again that the kids in cages thing was all just something they campaigned on. It meant nothing to them. They never were going to go in there and improve upon what the Republicans were doing. So why give them your vote? Why ever vote for someone like Joe Biden? And I would argue, I mean, there's still, Joe Biden's still kind of being hawkish with North Korea, which was something that we didn't have to worry about with Trump. So you pick your poison. You know, we're going to see a Joe Biden do worse on certain things than Trump. And I hate Trump. And overall, I do agree that Trump is still a worse president. Let's be clear. I do think that Trump would have been worse than Biden. But I mean, why do we allow this? We could have somebody good. We could have had Bernie Sanders. But not enough people are paying attention to the details. They just think, you know, maybe the Democrat will be a little better than the Republican, who happens to be Trump. And Biden certainly tweets a lot nicer. But on paper, about the same, man. I'm not noticing any difference. Build back better? Bullshit. And when he said nothing would fundamentally change, let's remember, he wasn't talking to the people. He was talking to corporations when he said that. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I wish I had better news for you. It's been a kind of a downer day, but I'm going to do a more lighthearted episode later on. We'll see you.